keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? Jake Cam back on our video, and today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 running back rankings for the 2025 NFL Draft. We're about 20 days away, so these are starting to kind of become finalized with a lot of people's big boards. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree or disagree with, anything that I talk about in here, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content. I'm going to be putting out other top 5 rankings for other positions, different mock drafts for different teams, all the way up until the NFL draft. So make sure to subscribe to be able to see all those videos. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into my top 5 running back rankings and give you my 5 best guys in this draft. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Coming in at number 5, we have Caleb Johnson from the University of Iowa. Now, he's been pretty much the main guy. Most of the time at Iowa, if you think about the University of Iowa, it's all about running the football. So most of the time, they're going to have a very good running back, and whoever the running back is there, Iowa is going to get fed the rock a lot, and it's going to put up a lot of rushing stats, and it's going to be one of the better running backs prospects in the NFL draft. So starting out here with Caleb Johnson. He is a little bit of a bigger back. He's 6 foot 225. He actually ran a 4.57 at the NFL Combine. So it's kind of great for him because he has that speed, but he also has the way that he's a patient runner and he's able to let the plays develop in front of him before he uses that speed. Now his stats from last year, his rushing stats, he rushed for 1,500 yards exactly, and he had 21 touchdowns. So he got in the end zone a lot, and that University of Iowa run threat. He didn't get as much receiving work, but a lot of these running backs this year, as you look at their stats until you get later on in the draft, with this being one of the most stacked running back classes almost of all time, a lot of them didn't really get a lot of the receiving work. It was a lot more pound the ball, and a lot of these teams either had a duo or it was just them taking over the load. So he only had 188 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns. And really, what makes him good and what makes him a top 5 running back in this class, he has tremendous speed after running that 4.57 at the combine. But while he's also has that speed, he also does a great job of using his vision and his patience to let the plays develop in front of him. He doesn't he doesn't really, rush the plays or rush, getting into the gap. He really lets those offensive linemen be able to seal the gap off and allows him to really attack it right there. One thing that really he needs to get better at, though, if he wants to be a constant running back at the NFL level, he does need to get more involved in the passing game. He At Iowa, they didn't really pass a whole lot, and when they did, it wasn't to the running back or anything to Caleb Johnson. It was very few. So if he wants to be able to stay at the NFL level, and this goes for a lot of the running backs in this class, they need to be able to get more involved with the passing game, considering how the NFL is going. It with a lot of cover two looks, a lot of teams are looking to run the ball more, but they also want to be able to get the running back involved in the passing game as well. So they have to be that patient speed threat guy that Caleb Johnson is, but also be able to be involved in the passing game as well. So on to number 4 is a guy that a lot of people have a lot higher. I have Travion Henderson at number 4, the number 4 best running back. He's 5'10", 208. Now, he did have a running back duo with him and Quinshon Judkins, which is someone we'll get to later in the video. So it's a lot of people actually prefer Henderson over Judkins, but they went on a massive run towards the end of last year, pretty much leading Ohio State to the college football playoffs and then leading them into the championship game to be able to win. It was pretty much one game Travion Henderson would go off, one game Quinshon Judkins would go off. So it was just kind of them rotating back and forth about who would have the great game with that duo they had. Now with him, his rushing stats, he had 1,000 yards, 1,016 yards, 10 touchdowns, and his receiving, he was a little bit more involved in the receiving game than Judkins. His was 284 yards and 1 touchdown. So he was a little bit more of the home run threat type running back that they would use. He was pretty much any time that he could get the ball, he had the threat of scoring no matter where he was, and he was pretty much the home run threat that could make a 5 yard gain into a 15 yard game or a 15 yard gain into a touchdown. He had multiple 60 yard touchdowns. He had several 70 yard touchdowns against Oregon. And that's really was the difference maker in a lot of these games. And he's really that big home run threat that a lot of teams are really going to want. So, what makes him very good in this draft class and the number 4 overall running back He could be in the first round. There's several running backs since this draft is so good that they could be taken in the first round of this draft, and it would not be shocking. And this is one of those guys that could potentially go in the first round. But like I said, he's a big home run threat with his speed and playmaking ability. He pretty much can score on any plays that you give it to him. And he's very consistent with the ball. He almost never turns the ball over in his college and collegiate career. He's never lost a fumble. So he doesn't really turn the ball over a lot and he protects the football, which with some guys, they tend to fumble a lot and end up losing the ball. And Travion Henderson never does that. You're pretty much guaranteed to keep the ball every single time he touches it. And then the last thing he could improve on, like Caleb Johnson would get involved in the passing game, he does get tackled very easily. As you can see, he's not very big. He's about 5'10", 208. I know Genty is a little bit smaller in height, but bigger built. So he doesn't need to work on getting that second effort and that second motor. And whenever he gets hit, he's pretty much getting tackled right away. He's not really putting much effort making guys miss into it. It's most of if he makes contact with Travion Henderson, he's going to get tackled on the play. But if he's able to get through untouched, it's pretty much a touchdown immediately. No one's catching him. So those are kind of the trade-offs that you have with Travion Henderson here. It's either a home run threat guy if the plays run right and no one's touching him, or if someone ends up getting to him, he's gonna get tackled pretty easily, almost immediately. So that's kind of the trade-off that you have with him as a prospect whenever you're looking to draft him. On to number three, this one could be a little bit questionable to most people. A lot of people do not have Quinshon Judkins over Travion Henderson, but at number three, I'm going to have Quinshon Judkins coming in here. He's a little bit bigger of a back than Travion Henderson. He's 6 foot 219. If you look at his stats, obviously both of them were at Ohio State, so like same thing with Henderson, they split carries, and it was mostly maybe Henderson would go off one game and then Judkins would go off the other game, so they were kind of switching roles a lot. And most of the time, Henderson was kind of the third down back guy. But looking at his stats, Quinshon Judkins, he had 1,060 yards last year rushing with 14 touchdowns. And in the receiving, he wasn't non-existent in the receiving game. He would actually get involved as well. It's just Henderson was more of the go-to receiving target with the big plays. And Judkins here would get 161 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. So what really pushes him over for me is just the style of running back that he is. While Henderson's more that home run guy that's just straight down the line speed, he doesn't really make a lot of guys miss, and he's not that hard of a runner. And he didn't really have multiple productions of years. Quinshon Judkins kind of the opposite. He's more the different style. He's more the little bit bigger back that's a hard nosed runner. And really, he's able to just go hit the hole, get you a couple of yards, and he's able to run over a couple of guys. So he's really just that hard runner that not a lot of people are able to take down almost immediately. So they really complement each other very well. If they go to a similar situation in NFL, kind of similar to what David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs were able to do. If they were able to go to a situation like that where they can get a guy like each other to complement each other very well in the run game, like they did at Ohio State, they could both be very productive in the NFL. Now, are both of them number one guys that are going to solo, handle all the backfield? Who knows? I don't necessarily know. I think coming in, they really would need to be paired with someone to be able to be productive. Maybe like a Bears situation would be good for Judkins, because then he could share the load with the running backs that they already have there. But mostly he's a hard runner and he had multiple productive years. This was his first year at Ohio State. He was able to come in and transfer in and be able to work well with Travion Henderson. It was a little bit of question marks going into it, how he was going to be. But at Mississippi State, whenever he was there, he was very productive. He had a 1,500 yards rushing season, and he was one of the better running backs that was put into the portal. And that was in the SEC with the average SEC team against great competition the last couple of years. So even not only at Ohio State with the multiple tandem, he was able to go in the SEC his first 2 years and be very productive at a average SEC team against great SEC talent and different teams like Alabama and Texas and all those great SEC teams. So he was able to come in and be very productive on those type of teams. So that really brings it into that he could do both. He could potentially solo lead a backfield, or he could potentially be a great number two piece that is able to rotate in, kind of similar to the Lions and how they work with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. The number two running back in this class would probably be number one in most any other draft class, but of course we have Ashton Genty. But number two, we're gonna have Amarion Hampton. He's a little bit of a bigger back, similar to Quinshon Judkins, just a lot more production and a lot better of a runner of the football. He comes in at 6 foot 220, so pretty big. But if you look at his stats at North Carolina, he pretty much did everything. He did the receiving work, he did the rushing work, and he was pretty much everything to that entire offense. His rushing, he had 1,660 yards last season, which is insane, and 15 touchdowns. Along with receiving work, he had 373 yards receiving, along with two touchdowns. So far, he has both the most rushing stats and the most receiving stats. And like I said, if this was almost any other draft and Ashton Genty wasn't in it, Amarion Hampton would be the hands down number one prospect. And I think that he's a top 10 guy. I think Genty's going to go in that six area to the Raiders potentially. And I think Amarion Hampton is opened up to be the number 10 overall pick to the Bears or maybe number 12 to the Cowboys in that area. He's definitely a top 15 guy in this draft, and he's going to go very high in this draft just because of his combination and what you're going to see if you go and watch this film of how aggressive of a runner he is. And not only with that, he's very agile for his size, so he can make a lot of guys miss. He could do pretty much everything. He could stick his nose and get a couple yards straight into that gap that's not really there and make something out of nothing, or he could go and he can make you miss out in open field, juke you and put a nice spin move on you. He can pretty much do everything, or he can just straight see you coming straight down the line downhill and run you straight over and get a couple extra yards. He's pretty much everything. He could truck you. He could spin move. He's very agile. He's very elusive in open field. So it's just that combination of running. And there's been several reports that multiple NFL teams actually have him rated over Ashton Genty, and I could easily see why. Because if you really like that play style that he has, you could definitely end up falling in love with him and have him ranked over Genty. Just because I think Hampton and Genty, I think they're a lot closer than what people have made them out to be over the last month or so. I think it's kind of 1A, 1B almost with Genty and Hampton, even though people think Genty is way up here, way above Hampton. They're a lot closer than what people think. And if you look at him in North Carolina, he could lead the backfield. He was the number one guy at North Carolina. He pretty much did everything in that offense, and he was the guy that pretty much made that offense run. So you really do like to see that, and you could see that he could be the number one option in the NFL and be the solo workforce most of the time in a NFL most of the time now that's usually has two to three backs. This guy is more the old school that he could run and be the number one option with no rotation really and just get him the ball 25, 30 times a game. And that's what most of these running backs are, even though nobody's going to do that in the NFL anymore. But he has that capability if you need him to. And I think that he's going to be a top 15 pick. I really do like him number 10 to the Bears. I don't think the Cowboys are going to go running back. I think they're going to look at another position. But at the floor, the farthest that he will fall in the draft is number 20 to the Denver Broncos. That's absolute the floor of where he's going to go. And it's that number 20 spot, and he's guaranteed to pretty much be a first round pick. The bigger question is, are one of the other guys, is there going to be a third running back in the first round of this NFL draft? And then coming in at number one, no surprise to anybody, we have Ashton Genty. He's a little bit smaller. He's 5'9", 215, but at his pro day, there was that clip of him being absolutely jacked and built without a shirt on. He's the Heisman runner-up. He had one of the greatest running back seasons that we've ever seen, probably number two behind Barry Sanders. And just looking at his stats, you could tell he was pretty much chasing Barry all year, and he started out very well. He had multiple 300-yard games, couple 200-yard games, multiple four touchdown games. So it was pretty insane. His rushing stats were 2,601 yards on the season and 29 touchdowns. That's absolutely insane on the ground. Now, he didn't really have the receiving work, so that's one knock that you could have on Genty is that he wasn't very involved in the receiving game with only having 138 yards and one touchdown. But the main argument of this case of why he wasn't involved in the passing game is because even though Boise State coaches haven't said that they were feeding him, they were just trying to win the game. Most of the time, they were just trying to feed Ashton Genty, and their most important aspect of the season was getting Ashton Genty that Heisman Trophy. So a lot of times they weren't really worried about passing the ball or passing the ball to Genty. They were just trying to run the ball over and over again and feed Genty so that he could up those stats and potentially break Barry Sanders' record, even though he fell a little bit short of it, and try to get him that Heisman Trophy, which results in the crazy touches that he had and the 2,600 yards and the 29 touchdowns. But overall, him as a prospect, he's the most complete running back that we've seen in years. Now, he could be up there. I don't necessarily know or think he's as good as Saquon. Saquon was something else. Saquon was probably one of the best running back prospects I've seen in almost of all time. And I don't necessarily think he's up there with Saquon, but I think it's easy enough to say that he's up there with Ezekiel Elliott. Those two guys, Saquon and Ezekiel Elliott, were two of the best running back prospects that we've seen. As you can see, where they've gone in the draft. Saquon Barkley went number 2. Ezekiel Elliott went number 4 to the Cowboys. And Ashton Jeanty, I think, is up there with Ezekiel Elliott as a prospect. Now, he's not necessarily at the Saquon level, but he's up there. Being the Heisman Trophy runner-up, we hadn't seen a running back in that case that wasn't a quarterback in a couple of years. So, pretty much what makes him is his crazy instincts to create big plays. Same thing with Amarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson. He's able to be aggressive runner that could go and run people over, or he can make you miss out in the open field and be very agile at the same time. But it's his crazy instincts where he's letting a play develop. He's able to pretty much find that gap immediately or know exactly where that gap is going to be coming based on how the defensive line at running back. It's very interesting because you can see pretty much the whole field, and you can see how how he lines up. A lot of people call him Michael Myers just because he's standing straight up, but the reason he does that is so that he can see the entire field. When you're running back, you need to be able to see the defense and be able to tell how they're going to flow so that you can tell whether you need to follow that gap or be able to cut it back on the inside and be able to hit that cutback line to get a couple extra yards. So that's exactly what he's doing where he's standing straight up like that. And he's one of the best of all time and best in college football at doing that. He was amazing at seeing the cutback line or seeing the play develop to be able to go and hit the hole and be able to use that combination of speed and power that he has to be able to go and attack the gap and make a lot of big plays that he was able to make with several 60-yard touchdowns, 30-yard touchdowns. If you look at everything I've talked about with these other guys so far, everything is combined with one guy. Trayvon Henderson might have been that home run hit. Quinshon Judkins might have been the power guy. Caleb Johnson had the vision to be able to let him see the play develop. Ashton Jeanty has all those things into one, and that's why he's the top running back in this class. Now, where he's going to go is very much a question mark. The floor for him, he's definitely going to be a top 10 pick. The absolute lowest that he's going to go, I would say, is number 10, the Chicago Bears. But most of the time, he's being mocked and pretty much put straight to at number 6 to the Raiders, and he even has the possibility of potentially going number 4 to the Patriots if Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are off the board. I can easily see the Patriots not going tackle and waiting, and then end up going Ashton Jeanty at number 4, but most likely he's being chalked in number 6 overall to the Raiders, and coming from one of the better running back prospects and of all time, he's going to be up there, and he's going to be a great running back in the NFL, and it's going to be exciting to see where he ends up going in that top 10 area. But this is my top 5 running backs of this NFL draft class. Make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagree with that I talked about in here, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content that I'm going to be putting out, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Moran, need a triple-double, told him check the stats, yeah, I got a couple, I don't drop the ball, now I never fumble, I'm the MVP, now I feel like Russell, feel like John Moran, need a triple-double, told him check the stats, yeah, I got a couple, I don't